Welcome back to Problem Solver Politics. I am your host, Cardinellis, with Cody the Oracle.
Hey, everybody.
And it looks like we're covering Andrew Yang almost more post-candidacy than we are pre or during his candidacy.
I wish we could, but not quite yet. We're not quite there yet.
Not quite yet. But he's been moving and shaking over the past 24 hours. Yesterday, we broke the story about the accidental release of his website for just a couple of minutes, but we got some screen grabs of the Humanity Forward project he's working on, and today we're going to give you a bunch more details of that. Also, his people are going to talk to your people, and we're going to do lunch, because he's officially signed up with the CAA, the Creative Artists Agency, which is obviously an agency for people that are appearing in the media. He's full-blown media bro now. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. Anyway, all things Andrew Yang of the past 24 hours. Cody, tell us what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, you mentioned it's a lot of news going on with Andrew Yang, and it appears he has been working on things in the background for a few weeks. A couple of things here, probably a couple months almost, not really. And here's the first one of them. So normally I don't like doing this, but this is one of the instances where the press release was actually really good and there's a lot of great info in here. So I'm just going to walk through the press release on the Humanity Forward, what exactly it is, and then we'll break down some more kind of specific components of it. But first of all, let's get through this. So here we go. Andrew Yang launches new organization to continue the mission of the Yang 2020 campaign. And that was very interesting. And again, I wanted to bring up, scroll so you can read it better. Something interesting about that as well. And we'll go through the site in a moment and I'll show you. But yeah, you look through the language on the site and it basically is the Yang 2020 campaign continued just as something else, which is very cool. So just weeks after winding down his presidential campaign, Yang is announcing the launch of Humanity Forward, a new organization advancing the mission and vision of his 2020 presidential campaign. As we said yesterday, it's a 501c4 nonprofit organization with an official mission to build the movement to rewrite the rules of our economy and society, to make it work for us, the people, and create a human-centered America, which, yes, was Yang running for president in 2020. There's some other kind of stuff in here, but here we go. A couple things I want to touch on right here. So there's 3 key bullet points, and the third one is the one that's interesting to me. So the first one is going to launch and support products and pilots that demonstrate the power and practicalities of our ideas in real life, mostly UBI, providing resources to political candidates to embrace universal basic income and other aligned policy at every level. This was the one, though. Activating new voters and the politically disengaged, particularly young people and the economically marginalized. Now, I literally fall into that group. I was the politically disengaged and someone who, I guess, I'm less young than I used to be, but still pretty young.
But are you really economically marginalized, Cody, in the lucrative art of YouTube podcasting and radio?
Well, I'm not exactly raking in the millions either. But no, I mean, like, I would say of the 3 things, though, the one that jumps out to me the most, I would just disengage in politics. He brought me back in. So that is real. The only thing I would think with that, just to keep in mind, it appears Bernie Sanders is going to lose the nomination because he told the DNC he was going to deliver them that and then never delivered it. Now, maybe they'll just let Yang get another crack at it, but it's not a huge deal. It's just something, reading that, I'm like, that is exactly what Bernie promised the Democrats, and he did not give it to him. So if Yang can give it to him, hey, maybe that makes him, which, by the way, I think he's doing it the right way, but not going to get lost in it. Just that's what was interesting to me. The other really big thing here is that there's $3 million already pledged, including backings from big names like Dave Chappelle, Terry Hatcher, Ken Jeong, and founder of Reddit and Initialized Capital, Alexis Ohanian, I believe. One thing I think is really funny and cool, it's like he gathered all these various people throughout the way, and now it's like they're kind of moving with him now in like the second journey. I thought that was really cool. But here are the specifics. Here was the reason why. This is the stuff that really jumped out to me. The second one is my favorite.
Hey, Cody, can I say one thing before we move on to this topic?
Please.
About that group of people he's gotten together. This is what really impresses me about Andrew Yang doing it in this order, and it's something I can't think of seeing in my adult life previously. We've seen tons of celebrities who've been able to parlay their celebrity into public service. You know what I'm saying? Or into a candidacy for president. As early as, Hunter S. Thompson, the guy that wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. We had the guy who was an ex-Navy SEAL and a wrestler in Montana, who became governor. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Who was that guy?
I forgot his name.
Talking about Jesse Ventura, right?
Jesse Ventura,
that guy, Jesse the Body Ventura, superstar in the 80s.
Yeah, so we had Jesse Ventura do it. We've had a ton of celebrities who have become statesmen or have become candidates, but
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger himself, the governor of California here. But I can't think of a lot of candidates who have really parlayed it into kind of a celebrity status in order to continue doing their good works. You know, I've seen it go from celebrity to candidate far more often than I've seen it go from candidate to celebrity.
No, I mean,
Can you think of one where a candidate's
Well,
been super popular and then just kind of become a celebrity because of it?
define celebrity? I've seen candidate to big name activist. I've seen that happen. That's almost kind of like the fallback, right? Like, it's kind of in a way with Yang, it's kind of like a pretty tried and true path. You run on a thing, and if you don't win, you use the notoriety boost you got from running on the thing to then support you in your activism for the thing, which is what he's doing. I think it's actually pretty common. What is a little bit unique is to see someone run for president and then find themselves be a like what we're going to get into later. That's a little bit more unique to me.
Okay.
This is kind of plan B. Okay, running for president to get this passed didn't work. I guess I'll become a high profile activist since I have a high profile now because I ran for president.
Just like Greta Thunberg, but you make sense and are based off of science.
And you ran for president and you're adults. And actually, the more you think about it, nothing like it. Anyway, though. So here are some of the things that they're actually going to do. So engaging the disengaged, that they're going to actually do it, which again, this was interesting to me. Programs and organizing initiatives to bring new voters out in 2020 and beyond, including young Americans, Asian American voters, independents, and individuals who have not been engaged in the political process. Very fascinating and actually really cool. I can't think of one other mainstream group that's not a specific Asian group that would single out and say we want to help increase Asian American voting, right? That's a group of people that will never get brought up. Like, we want to encourage basically everybody but them to vote. It's like when you read down the list, it's like, oh. So that's very interesting. Very cool to see. A second thing, which is very cool and my favorite, Andrew Yang podcast. We're getting the Andrew Yang experience, it appears. A long-form podcast format. Andrew Yang will discuss new ideas to solve the greatest challenges of our time with innovators, celebrities, politicians, journalists, and regular Americans. It really does sound like just the Joe Rogan experience, but Andrew Yang. And if that is what it is, I think that'll be a lot of fun. He's a really cool guy. We saw him on The View today. He definitely, I've always thought, works well in front of a camera, and he works well with people. So I'm very happy to see that. This also is very cool and definitely something I look forward to attending whenever this happens. The Future of Work Summit. Humanity Forward will bring together leaders from technology in Washington, D.C. to publicly discuss and collaborate on the future of work and vision for a human-centered economy. And then seed funding. The fourth thing is seed funding. This is all the stuff I read off to you is kind of fun and neat. This is what they're legitimately actually going to be doing, and that's going to be going around to various candidates and elected officials and activists around the country and providing them money to move forward UBI in various levels. Either is it running for office? Is it paying lobbyists to support someone already in office? Whatever it is, they kind of go through and mention that's what we're going to be doing. That's really what the money goes to. Like, the podcast is cool. The summit will be neat. All this stuff. Engaging new voters. I like to hear that. But what we're actually seeing here is a maybe national pack for really what I think obviously has happened before, but it's a smart way to do it. You just say, we're going to find, if I can't win the presidency, I'm just going to start making my mark around the country in various congressional seats, Senate seats, mayoral seats, gubernatorial?
Gubernatorial.
That's the right word. And doing it that way.
You're becoming a talking head, Cody. You're just part of the
I will admit,
the chattering class.
Do you know where that
now.
came from, the gubernatorial? The only reason? I was watching The Wire again recently. There's a season where there's a governor and a mayoral race, and that's all I talk about for like half the season. I've always wondered, what's the point of that word? Why couldn't they have a governor version of the word? It had to be gubernatorial.
Well, I think what it actually has to do with excuse me. I think what it actually has to do with is the fact that in Spanish you say gobernador. So I think the word gubernatorial, the fact that it uses the GUB instead of the GOV of the English word governor, I think heralds back to its Latin roots. Does that make sense? Because it is kind of a weird word. You know, you don't say governor-ish. It's my governor-ish.
I mean, it makes sense.
Campaign.
Like, yeah, root.
Or my governorial. You say it's my gubernatorial.
Okay.
I mean, that's a weird bastardization of the word. So anyway,
moving past linguistics.
Next linguistics.
Next things, because again, the Humanity Forward stuff. I want to get to a couple things. First thing I want to get to. This was just something we didn't see yesterday. It wasn't originally. I don't know if it was posted yesterday. There's one piece of merch on the Humanity Forward website, aside from his book. It's not a hat. I was really hoping it was a hat, but you can get a cool Humanity Forward t-shirt. Just wanted to highlight that.
Well,
mostly because I want the hat. I want them to make a hat. I'll get the hat. But
really?
Oh yeah. Hey, look, I got two Mad hats literally right. No, one unofficial math hat and then one official non-math hat, but still, like, I'm 2 Yang hats right here.
Well,
Like, I
maybe
like
the
that.
Australian Yang Gang could come up with their bootleg version, because they had the best math hat.
Well,
that really
I
nice
guess
math
bootleg is
hat.
like the wrong word. It's like it'd be like the nice new era version.
Yeah,
it's,
the new
it's
era
the
version.
I'm not running for president and I don't need to skimp on my margins version. Those are actually really high
Yeah.
quality. That's the second one you see right there. It's really nice. Actually, I'll show you. I would love
Get it, Cody.
if they did if you did a hat just like this with this kind of lettering, but you do just the H and the F from Humanity Forward and the teal. Anyway, it's long enough on this. I just think they'd be really cool.
So,
But the next question I want to get to, because we were
Yeah.
going into what actually was happening with it. What's Andrew actually going? And the big announcement to me, because whether he was going to announce this thing this week, Andrew Yang being a leading activist and someone who was going to raise money for UBI was basically what I assumed he was going to be doing regardless. That wasn't too much of breaking news to me. Nice to see it happen, but I'm like, okay. What I would think is cool is the second bullet point right here, the Andrew Yang podcast. Now,
yeah.
he mentions having actors, I believe, in this point, or celebrities, innovators, politicians, journalists. Do you think, because I don't think we've ever actually got heard very much on this, do you think that one of his earlier guests should be Nicolas Cage, so Nicolas Cage can explain why it was he was such an early donor in Andrew Yang?
I think that
Those
was
of you
cool.
who don't remember the history of it, when they first started looking into who's donating to politicians and FEC filings, God, I want to say last spring almost, Nicolas Cage just randomly was one of these really high-profile people that donated to Andrew Yang. He recently, I'll see if I can find the photo. He was recently photographed wearing a math hat, I think on Super Tuesday night, right?
Yeah.
However, I've never really heard him publicly speak very much on why. Have you?
I've never seen an official comment from Nicolas Cage.
I can't
on
imagine a
Andrew
better place to do it, right?
Yang. Okay. Yeah, that's true. And you always want to start a podcast with a bang. So you got to have somebody. You got to have
Has he
somebody
done,
that's
a good
that's
long
clickable on
podcast?
there.
Yeah.
I think Dave Chappelle's very clickable universally. I think
Dave
Nicolas
Chappelle would be a good one.
Cage. Yeah,
Dave
Nicolas
Chappelle would be
Cage is world renowned. So I think that'd be a good idea. Either one of those guys. In fact, if those were the first two podcasts, I think they'd be riveting.
Oh yeah.
So
I definitely think just from and people might disagree in the comments. I definitely think from a get people watching kind of thing. Yes, don't start off with what was his name? Was it the Gregory Mankiw? He was he's the guy who literally wrote the book on macroeconomy you use in multiple universities.
Uh-huh.
Don't start with him. I would watch it. I would think it's cool. Yeah, but start with Nicolas Cage or Dave Chappelle. Hey,
Or
get
the
Donald
guy
Glover.
that
What about
invented
Donald
the
Glover? He
segways.
was the creative consultant. I don't want to call him out, but I got the hat. But I don't know what else he did creatively for Andrew Yang. I mean, it was only a couple months. So get him on. Have him talk about it. I think it's really cool.
Actually, what I think that, of course, here we are giving unsolicited advice to Andrew Yang as though he's in the room.
Well, just
but-
what do you think would be cool to see?
Well, what I think would be the best, this is what I honestly think the best would be. Record the first 5 and release all of the first 5 so that every single demographic that you want to include in your new movement is covered. I would record the boring macroeconomics guy who talks deep because there might be people like me who like hearing a much deeper analysis of how UBI could work. Then record Dave Chappelle doing his fun, rough and dirty and gritty humor so that the people that are attracted to the celebrity and kind of humanity first element of that are covered. Then, get the early adopters in there. See if you can't have a sit down with Nicolas Cage and say, okay, what was it that attracted you to the movement? Let's talk about why you like Andrew Yang. And then also get the guy who invented the Segway, who has the at-home dialysis
Forgot
machine.
about him. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Let's get him sat down. And that way, as soon as you release the podcast, you don't want to have it just be Dave Chappelle, because what if somebody's not a big Dave Chappelle fan and they want to hear a more in-depth analysis about UBI and they didn't get it, so they may not subscribe to the podcast. But if there's 4 that are listed as opening episodes, one of those I'm going to like, so I will subscribe to the podcast.
We might disagree on this. I think cool, Dave Chappelle's hanging out with Andrew Yang crowd is way larger than the nice 2 hours of UBI discussion crowd. I kind of think
you're
both.
right.
No
I'm just
offense.
saying.
Just say get the views. I'm not going to go into this too long. I was just thinking it'd be funny. You want to start with a bang, right? You want to start with some
I
big
suggest we
names.
argue about
wanna
hypotheticals we have no control
Yeah,
over.
but I just think, I would love to see him start with some big names. Trying to explain it better than I could. I couldn't. There's a really cool commercial I want to run for you guys. Don't know why I couldn't get the words out, but here we go. Let's run this for a few seconds. Check it out.
We have to get our country working for us again instead of the other way around.
We have to let our fellow Americans know that economic value and human value are not the same things. We have forgotten the power that we hold.
Andrew Yang's Mormon,
we are
bro.
still in control
That's the
of
opening
our
of
own
a church
future.
talk right there.
We increased the popular support for universal basic income to 66% of Democrats. We accelerated the eradication of poverty in our society by years, even generations. This wave is just beginning and will continue to build and grow until we rewrite the rules of this economy to work for us, the people of this country. Let's give our kids a future we will actually be proud to leave to them. Let's let them know what people can still do in the United States of America. This is the beginning. This movement is the future of American politics. We are just getting started.
Rock on. I'm getting pumped, man.
One reason why I wanted to show that, I'm like, sorry guys, it is a little bit. I just remembering what the campaign was like. It was so crazy to think that was just months ago. Anyway. That being aside, to your point, and this is something you've been bringing up a lot. The reason I wanted to show this video is the very end here when they get into talking about. I'm just gonna run it without sound because just the text that's on screen. But one thing you always bring up was one of the main reasons why you really drawn to Andrew Yang was just seeing a campaign that is so. I love seeing Andrew Yang, even to his detriment in the media when they did it. He was like dedicated to getting as many people on board with his like just saying like, I don't care who these people, I just want to make things better for everyone, not certain people, the dedication to it. So I think it's really cool. Again, I'll just have it running in the background, but just the fact that is a lot of the messaging on, which I guess if it's called Humanity Forward, it has to be, but just is the idea of like moving forward past the divide, which by the way, if you're looking forward to 2024, that just kind of, checking the temperature the last couple of years, I think people voting against the partisan bickering nonsense is going to become very in vogue. 2022 midterms, baby.
Yeah.
People saying, "Look, we just can't handle it anymore." I don't think our country could take 15 straight years people screaming at each other all the time. We need a little.
Well, to be honest, it's kind of been that way
like an eye of the storm at the least, right?
Well, see, you being less politically engaged has been a blessing because you were preserved of the first 10 years of it, but I do have to say it has atrophied at an accelerated rate starting at the turn of the century with George Bush, and has reached a fever pitch underneath the presidency of Donald Trump.
Anything pre-social media, anything pre-2008. Like 2008 was when like our universe collided with another universe and everything changed. The iPhone came out, Facebook went live, and we all got stupid. So anything before 2008 is
Facebook was before 2008, bro.
2007, I think, is when it went public to everyone.
Oh, but no, that was before that because I had come back from serving in Argentina in 2002, and that's when I made my Facebook account.
Okay, were you a student at all? It was a student-only thing.
Oh, yeah, I was in college. You're right. I forgot.
It went public in 2007, 2008, yeah. And then the iPhone came out, and then everyone got stupid.
Oh, yeah, you had to be a college student. And I remember, actually, now that you mention it, you had to have a university email address to log in.
Yeah, like you actually had to. Yeah, you had to prove that's what I mean. It was a different.
So
thing
it was my @byu.edu that got me onto my first Facebook account. Look at that. You know it better than I do, and I lived it. So anyway, keep going.
Well, no, I just thought that was really cool taking a look at some additional messaging because a lot of the stuff, and we kind of went through a lot of it already, and the biggest thing going through this stuff is one, the fact that you can donate now, and if you want to, I have. Normally, what's funny? I'll admit this. The funniest thing, that looked weirder because it wasn't on the screen. I wanted to show you just what's on the website because we went through a lot of the stuff. The funny thing to me is when it comes to donating to presidential campaigns, I bristle at it. I'm just like, oh, presidential campaign. But for this, I was immediately like, oh, cool. Okay, I'll donate. I don't care. That sounds awesome. It's like for someone running, I'm always just kind of like,
candidates are grifters, but
just. Exactly.
501c4s aren't.
Well, no, but I guess it's because I'd rather invest in the message than a presidential campaign. That makes sense.
That's fair.
But here's the website. It's pretty well put together. A lot of the same info's on it. I'll have it linked below so you could read through more of it. But the big takeaways I wanted to just mention was, one, that this is indeed what's going on. He went live with it. This is what we're seeing. And then larger than that is the fact that it seems to be very much focused on what I think is the best way to go through this. Go around the country, prove UBI works in pilots, one, and then endorse and support financially people running to get UBI passed. And that's what he's doing.
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but one of my favorite phrases comes from a guy who's a cosmetologist in town, and very gregarious character. And oftentimes he says, I love you, mean it. Have my people call your people. Let's do lunch. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like his phrase that he says when he gets you out of his chair and sends you on your way, right? So now Andrew Yang can officially say, hey, have your people call my people. We'll do lunch. Or have your people call my people. I'll be on your show. Because he officially has people, Hollywood people now. And I got to say, he's looking super legit on that CAA website. Cody, you got to show him what's going on with one Andrew Yang and the Creative Artists Agency.
Okay. Well, anyway, this headline came through on Deadline, I think it was. And then everyone wrote the Deadline article. But it was really weird to me. It was just said Evelyn Yang and Andrew Yang and Evelyn Yang signed with CAA. I wanted some more additional info because I was like, okay, I kind of understand what it is a bit. What does that mean? And to be frank, there isn't any. They just said they've signed with CNAAA for representation. So I did a little bit of Googling around and I found something. Now, I'm not 100% sure if these were very recently published. I don't find any record of them existing before like this week. Maybe they're not. However, on the CAA.com website, which is what they just signed with, you can now book Andrew and Evelyn Yang as speakers, or at least inquire to book them as speakers. So there's definitely some. The reason why this is significant to me is because this tells me that Andrew Yang and Evelyn Yang, or Andrew Yang, because the Yangs, well, Andrew Yang's on CNN. My larger point is I don't think that's something he's going to be shying away from in the meantime, especially if his next move is basically to run a nonprofit advocacy group.
Yeah.
I think raising your profile by having jobs on CNN, getting speaking gigs is probably the best way to do it. But I thought it was really funny to see Evelyn Yang as well. You can also book Evelyn Yang.
For and what are her topics?
It says college, university, inspiring women, Asian, education, health and wellness, mental health, philanthropy, women's health.
She's got more than that.
Just like in general Asian.
The feminists are just,
the continent. That's weird, but anyway.
The feminists are rolling in their graves that Andrew's got like 20 little blurbs next to his name and she's only got 5. But I think she's got to give herself more credit. She's got more to talk about than that. You know what I'm saying? Evelyn was awesome, man. I think you should use her a little bit more in the campaign.
Biographies, marketing professional. Spent several years launching and managing.
She was like with Revlon or with
L'Oreal.
Right there, that's pretty cool.
And a board member of Culture City nonprofit. So that's very cool. And you can also look at Andrew Yang's little mini biography. He did run for president in 2020, in case you didn't know. But it's really weird. You can go down here and like you could seriously look. You just can fill out and you could book them for speaking gigs.
Dude, I wonder how much he costs.
I could say describe your event, purpose, audience, and the theme, etc.
Dude, we should just hold a rally and book him.
Yeah, well, that's
just straight up book him.
It is interesting. Now, also, it's funny too. Let's look at the also viewed. You have Ambassador Susan Rice, but you have Evelyn, and you also have Van Jones. Of course, the boy is right there. So
I was about to say, I bet you Van Jones is the one that hooked him up. He's like,
well,
look,
CNN.
You got to talk to my agent, man. You got to talk to my agent. Well, CNN uses all kinds of different agencies. CAA is not the only agency.
Well, they were probably asking him why. But I don't know if he had one before that. So they're probably like, "What agency do you use?" And he said, "I don't know. I guess call my campaign manager." And they said,
like,
"That's not
I'm
cutting
self-represented."
Yeah. You know? I mean, I can see him saying, "I guess Zach, my campaign manager. You can reach out to him. Maybe his director of like his like." No, he'd probably just be his press director, I guess, right? Like, who would a candidate call his agent? But it's like you're not a candidate anymore. You got to have an agent. So
full disclosure, Cody, I'm writing a kids movie right now. It's a script that's going to be made into a mid-budget kids movie that's going to have a theatrical release and also be streaming. And one of the kids, it's this very diverse group of kids that go off to this Boy Scout camp, And so there's this little Asian character kid who gets picked up by his father, who's a JPL scientist, and it's based off of a camp that I went to when I was a kid. And so I wrote them in as Yang, as the Yang family name. So if that movie gets made, I got to call CAA and cast Andrew Yang in his first film, man. Bernie Sanders was in that one film as a rabbi in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to get Andrew Yang as a dad in my film so that, my people can call his people and we can do lunch. Love ya. And I mean it. You know what I'm saying? That'll be That'll be my thing. You know what I'm saying? My contribution to his further media career that I think would actually be pretty hilarious. Are you with me on that one, or am I just all alone?
No, it'd be great, man.
No. So anyway, do we got anything more to say about the CAA thing?
Well, honestly, I wish I had more to say. For right now, not a whole lot. But what it tells me, all it's telling me is that Andrew Yang definitely is not thinking to go away from using media to raise his profile.
Yeah, he's taking it seriously.
It's what he's doing on CNN has worked, and I think we're just seeing the kind of extension of that. The bigger thing to me is funny is seeing Evelyn Yang, because I think I remember early on there was just like most people, she was kind of like, well, I don't know if I necessarily want to be a media personality. I'm kind of fine just doing what I do. Like, what? And now seeing Evelyn Yang being available, you can check to book her on.
Yeah, she was definitely much more reticent.
That was very interesting. Well, like your average person doesn't want to just be in front of cameras all the time. It's like most people say, no, I'd rather not do that.
Yeah.
So interesting to see her brought in as well. And Andrew Yang, obviously, I think this tells me another thing, that Andrew Yang's CNN stint is working, and for him for some level. It is. People love him. He's very likable. He works great on camera. He should be on camera more often. He co-hosted The View today. He should do more stuff like that.
Yeah.
You got to be careful. You become a little bit too much of a TV talk host and not enough of like a serious, legitimate political figure anymore. But still, it's good to see him on TV, and it's good to see, for me, to see him move forward with his kind of media, what's the word I'm looking for, exposure. Because, hey, what was the one thing people said that held Yang back the whole beginning part of his campaign? There was other issues that, in the end, kind of led to the demise. But in the middle, from the beginning, name recognition. He had to spend so much time on name recognition. Well, he probably won't have to after all this.
Yeah. And my last question is can you think of anything additional that could be done in concert with this humanity forward thing and kind of like this new media presence that he has that could be done to really just augment the public awareness of UBI and just the profile of Andrew Yang? What, join in the WWE? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what else could be done to make it so that really there's that much additional celebrity to his name? Because honestly, I kind of think we're almost living in an era now.
Sounds goofy, but
what?
Hosts a very popular podcast, which is why he's preparing a podcast. So if that podcast is very popular, his big name guest, it's something that, because think about it, it's not like necessarily, I was joking earlier saying it's like he's doing his own Joe Rogan experience, but you think there's a lot of shows, like look at even something, it doesn't even have to be that long form. Obviously, I'm assuming it's not going to be like Hot Ones, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of shows on the internet, just podcast shows that are kind of these sit down interview formats where people, they get interested. Oh, so and so was on X podcast, and that's becoming. It's kind
of. Is
it
going to be like Jocko Willenick?
It's becoming a bit of a meme at this point because it happens so often. But like for example, remember when Yang was on H3H3 podcast? That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I just think stuff like that could be a way to do it. Digital is where he's already doing very well, though. That's the thing, right? It's like, well, he's already does great in digital. You have to do better on digital, but it would help.
I think it would be interesting to have artificial intelligence glean all of the headlines and the show formats that are most popular on YouTube, and then just spit out an artificially intelligent recommendation of what kind of podcast he should have. You know, should it have crazy teenagers doing something nuts in the background while simultaneously ingesting super spicy, strange food?
Probably not.
You know what I'm saying? Then we could get everything. Oh, while speaking 7 decibels lower, 1 octave lower than everybody does, like the Jocko Willenick podcast. So like if he could just combine everything into one podcast and have it be the super podcast, I think that'd be pretty sick. Somebody could say, oh,
you have this like cover all your bases thing. You should have 50 guests on so everybody has a guest. You should have 50 formats so everyone's got a format. No, I think it'd be funny if he just sat down and was his normal Andrew Yang, great personality self, and just talked with interesting people for like an hour or two. That'd be fine.
Okay. Well, anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. And make sure that you guys follow us on Twitter. All of y'all have to go to Twitter and follow us at PSP Radio 1. Our Twitter audience has gotten a lot larger, and that's where we release a lot of these really funny micro videos of different things that are happening during the day and so on and so forth. So make sure you follow us on Twitter at PSP Radio 1. If you want to follow us on Instagram, we're at Problem Solver Politics. And if you would like to listen to us and have the audio podcast of all of these videos, make sure you check out your favorite podcast platform. We're on Spotify, We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on them all. So make sure you check us out on your favorite podcast platform. This is Problem Solver Politics, and we will see you guys in the next video.